And I don't know how to go back to this. Is that the button? That's the button. I figured it out.
You found it.
Oh. Welcome to the show.
You're listening or watching the Wow Pod.
Yeah.
I'm Betsy.
Or something.
Yes.
With the Wow Pod. Yes, that is Betsy.
You're
I am
commiserating.
Jared. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am ever the Neanderthal pushing the buttons, and Betsy should be, because she actually teaches this stuff.
I don't teach this software.
Until someone comes in and says, learn me this, and then you'll teach it.
Then I'll teach it, yes.
Now, you will notice that we weren't on last week.
Or the week before.
But was it also? Oh, the week before I was deer hunting.
Yes.
But last week we weren't on because the ever noble gods of YouTube deemed us.
We're naughty.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Deemed us unavailable for a week because
we said
someone
keywords.
Someone said something that someone shouldn't have said. And
it wasn't.
It was a tiny blip on a very important radar.
Yes.
And that got us in trouble. And so in the future, we will ever deem ourselves to not say things
that go against the narrative.
Yes.
The narrative is set.
It is. It really is.
We must comply.
We should do our best to do our diligent duty.
To God and our country.
He said duty. Anyways, we are back.
We're back.
Yes. But, so today, Betsy is bringing us
it's spooky season.
It is spooky season, so we're going to talk about a spooky dude today. And someone was messaging me that there might be a foot that is big in the willows.
Oh, okay. So I did see some chatter.
I did too. And so we may have to take a drive sometime trying to piece that together.
Our resident Squatch expert is going to be pissed if someone else finds a foot that is big in his own damn backyard and it's not him.
Dude. But
he looks like the Hulk. He will Hulk out.
If he's the one that finds it,
then we're good.
Will he be adopted?
He disappears. Missing posters. We know where he is. He found the Bigfoot.
And then there'll be, instead of squatchers, there'll be lessers.
They'll be beachers.
But anyway, so yeah. So we've got a little bit of funny news. We've got some Utah news. We got some actual news from the town we're sitting in that we're going to discuss on this international platform today.
Let's start with that.
You want to kick off with that?
Yeah, because I don't even know what that is.
You want to dig right into it.
I don't. You didn't give me a heads up on the news of the Tooele.
I will have to set this up real quick, but let me lay it out for you. So, if
I did see this.
You did see this. I knew you'd saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're dating a person, and that person is fighting with their child, how far do you think you would go to side with that person?
Not at all. That is a personal issue between them and their child.
I concur.
I would go no distance. That's my final answer. I don't even need to phone a friend.
You don't need to phone a friend?
No.
That's
it. Final answer.
Final answer, Pat. Okay. So let me get this up on screen, and then we shall read it together. Now, we are in the town of Tooele, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
That is spelled T-O-O, Illy. It is not spelled anything like it sounds.
No.
And it does not sound anything like it's spelled.
It's true.
It is a very particular name, dating back to the people of yore, apparently, or something.
Or something like that.
But anyhow, so I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'll just go through it off my own head. So, guy comes home from work, 43-year-old man.
You're a grown up.
An adult. The guy should have a mortgage, maybe a 401k. I don't know what other things
Gray
real
hair.
adults do. I am not an adult. I mean, the age of, but I have yet to go. But anyways, he comes home from work, and the 15-year-old son is being disrespectful to his wife. His stepson is being disrespectful to his wife. So him and the kids start rolling around on the ground, wrestling and fighting. And
Mike Tyson.
he bites the dang kid's earlobe almost all the way off. Just now, many questions.
This man needs some deep breathing exercises.
How does that marriage continue on? How do you do? I'm defending your honor, babe. How do you do it? How? How is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a game changer.
So the 43-year-old was booked into the Tooele County Jail on Monday. He's investigated for causing mayhem.
Yeah, that's what it's called. That's what it's called. Not bodily injury
We
and
hit the Wikipedia.
battery.
Mayhem is defined as biting off stepson's ear.
It should be battery and bodily harm with a deadly denture weapon. Does he have dentures?
The police show up and
His polygrip is working
the
great.
15-year-old's all bloody and asks him what happened. He says, I got into a fight with my mom's boyfriend and the boyfriend bit my ear off. So the boyfriend punched the juvenile male and then bit his ear when they both ended up on the ground wrestling around in the dirt. How do you do this? How is that a thing?
Well, it's clearly not an adult way to respond to an altercation between a really hormonal young man and his mother, whom obviously he knows everything at this point in his life, and they're arguing. The appropriate thing to do for a step parent in any situation is to exit stage left. To bow out gracefully.
It's not even a step parent. It's just the boyfriend, too.
Oh,
But here's my question.
No.
Okay. It says he bit off a half inch of ear near the lobe. Now, let's put this into perspective, folks. I'm going to put my pointer finger up. On average, between the tip of it and the first joint is 1 inch.
Is 1 inch.
Half of that is still a lot of damn ear.
That's a good little chunk.
That is. Now, on some people, that might be the whole ear.
Yeah.
He might have been getting a eardrum with it. I think it's called the scalia. Is that what it's called? The little squirmy thing in the eardrum. He went deep. I promise you, it was garnished with wax.
Yuck. Double yuck.
But he went for it. But how do you recover? How do you recover the relationship?
Jennifer Lee says, just know I'm out of there.
I don't know. I don't.
Jackson Lynn says, ew. And it is funny trying to hear people pronounce it. They just completely destroy Tooele.
No, yeah, keep going with that. Matter of fact, look it up on the map. It's a quaint little town. It's, but, I think we need to lean into the spelling and just say this is what it is.
Yeah. Kendra says, what did he consider disrespect, though? We don't have the whole story. Could it be he was arguing with the mom because the son is upset by the way the boyfriend treats the mom? Hello. He clearly has some boundary issues.
What if the kid refuses to clean out his ears with Q-tips?
He's like, what?
He's got those mangy, crusty yellow ears in there. Just has like a permanent, like a
ring,
like a frosting on a white cake gone off, just like sat out for 2 weeks. It kind of yellowed. The sun kind of hit it. Oxidization of the frosting, it's crusty, crystalline earwax. And the guy I'll show
leaned
you.
in.
Yeah.
Leaned in to take care of it. Yeah. We don't know the whole story. The thing is, I don't care.
I don't know how this works.
I am a step-parent.
Uh-huh.
Never have I rolled around. Now, I'm also a female, but never have I rolled around in an argument with one of my stepchildren, or my own children, for that matter. And my children have a step-parent. And never, and let me tell you, the opportunities were ripe for the picking.
Here's another thing.
With my 3 wild boys.
If he hurt the kid's ear, I promise the kid's going to have a harder time listening to mom from here on out.
Yes. But yeah, anyway.
Just rolling around in the dirt. What's up, Queen? What's up, King of Hecklemundo? He says, what a week. If anyone has any fun news out there, please fill us in. We would love to cover it on the show. I'm going to have Betsy get right into it, though.
Yep.
She's going to tell us about this asylum, if you will. It's a institution.
We're going to talk the legend of Cropsy.
Okay, Cropsy. Now, is Cropsy... Now, to me, when you say that, I start thinking he's the engineer that runs the sewage tanks on the UFOs that makes the
crop
circles.
They missed the boat.
Remember when we talked about that?
We really should cover crop circles again, because we could include Cropsy in this.
Cropsy, the crop circle engineer.
Yep.
You know. Anyways, go on.
So, this story, this legend, has a beginning. Mm-hmm. As do all legends. This legend, this urban legend, begins in Staten Island. So New York has 5 boroughs. One of the smallest, or I believe it is the smallest. It might be the smallest.
What's a borough?
It's like a township or a neighborhood.
A tunnel that a vole digs and lives in.
It's same.
Same spelling, same everything.
Same everything.
All right.
So
just for
these boroughs, 5 boroughs, the smallest of which is the Staten Island borough, and arguably the most beautiful. It's heavily wooded. It's not, when you envision New York City, it's not. It's more like flat Montana. Tons and tons of trees. When you fly over Staten Island, you can't see anything below because it's just covered in trees and waterways, and it's just beautiful.
Do people is there little neighborhoods there and such? Okay.
So this story, this legend, in its infancy, started following the closing of a terrible institution that resided on Staten Island, the Willowbrook State School. So the Willowbrook State School was opened as a school. I use quotations because it really was horrific conditions for the mentally handicapped.
Okay.
So this Willowbrook institution is a better word for it. Giant building with tons of satellite buildings. It's heavily wooded all the way around it. they've got these beautiful open spaces and a church. And when it first opened, it had about 7,000 residents. So we're talking a big institution. And it had about 900 employees.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So that resident employee to resident ratio was high to begin with.
Is it like an institution for all of, say, New York or all of...
Yeah.
I mean, New York City alone could probably, because there's a lot of people there, and which is...
Right.
The averages of numbers, that could be a lot.
So you had to wait. There was like a long waiting list to get into Willowbrook, and families actually fought to get their children into Willowbrook. And
like the school lottery here?
Yeah. So they would be put on these really long waiting lists and finally make it into this institution that they thought would be this really great thing for their handicapped children.
Mm-hmm.
So the school was designed for 4,000. So it's built in 1947. It's designed for 4,000, but by 65 it had a population of closer to 7,000.
Okay, so it was built in 1947?
1947.
And in a period of around 20 years, it had gone 1,000 over its...
Almost 3,000
over. 3,000 over its capacity.
It had maxed out at almost 7,000. Now, this state-run facility, like I said, had about 900 employees at its 7,000. There were a couple of things that happened. First, they cut funding to the programs nationally, the federal programs that feed down into these institutions. So
we've actually covered that on this show before, where JFK, I think because of what was done to his sister, had a distrust for the institutional system.
Yeah. So they cut the funding to this, deeming it as overture or over expenditure in unnecessary ways. But what happens when you turn your children over to an institution like this is you cannot go pick them up. They are wards of the state. You get zero vote on anything that happens. You can't make changes to their diet. You can't tell them to clothe them. You can't tell them to bathe them more. You are out. The state takes over. So when they did this big funding cut, they lost 300 of their 900 employees.
So then they're down to one employee for approximately 110
residents. And we're not talking average residents. We're talking residents that can't feed, bathe, clothe themselves.
And wow.
And it gets worse. About 5 years later, the committee that oversees hygiene for the mentally incapacitated cuts funding. So they lose another 300 to 400 employees.
So now there is...
Over the span of about 6 years, they're down from 900 to less than 300 employees.
300 for about 7,000 people. So you got one employee for about every 220 customers.
Yes. So that's what... We don't know what the conditions were like when it first opened. However, that's what sparked all of the controversy and ultimately led to it closing. So a doctor that worked at Willowbrook and knew Geraldo Rivera, anyone remember him, reporter from the 80s?
Fine mustache, yes.
Fine mustache. Reached out to Geraldo Rivera and said, "You have got to expose this." And Geraldo said, first of all, I can't get in there because the patients have rights and they will not let us film in there. And secondly, they'll never give me permission to film where patients aren't because it is a state-run facility. So the doctor said, well, I will give you a key. So he takes this stolen key as he leaves and gives it to Geraldo Rivera. Geraldo Rivera shows up and just starts recording. And what he records, you can watch on YouTube to this day. It is devastating. The horrors that were suffered inside this institution, there are pictures of it that you can see online. All of the children who couldn't feed themselves were nutritionally deficit or near dead because no one was feeding them. Little nurse, and it is not because these nurses did not care. Oh. It is because these nurses are one person for 200-300 kids.
You can't keep up with it. Look at this picture right here that I'm showing on there on the screen for those of you who's listening. Remember that thing that was going on in South America, the mosquito?
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
The malaria camps.
Yeah, where they've got the odd-shaped head.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at there.
Yeah.
And they are super thin. They're in the fetal position. I mean, this person on that second one, I mean, that.
Well, what Geraldo filmed was, I mean, just go watch because it is awful. But what he filmed sparked this upheaval with regards to Willowbrook and other institutions.
Why is there babies in here?
Yeah. So that was the second thing. And we'll get to that. But
there's
little tiny babies, thousands of them. So he does this expose and he just puts it on the news. It was on NBC Nightly News. He just throws it out there for the world to see. And everyone starts to scramble, and it's a perception from the public, and they want to correct it. So what do? They say, we're going to go in, and we're going to fix these conditions. Geraldo Rivera goes back a second time. It's worse. It's worse the second time. After they say, yeah, we're fixing it, all of these provisions, they hired a bunch of people, it's actually worse. So in light of all of the pressure. What, did they start
lighting people on fire? How do you get worse?
Yeah, like open sores. There was a person that bled to death, and the doctor who was in the building next to it took 20 minutes to get there. So he exposes that it's worse, and some pretty important people start to weigh in on it. Now, we know when these pretty important people weigh in, they are from the government, and they're here to help.
Every time.
Every time. Oh. So, first thing they do is what they called exodus. And during this exodus, they took these mentally ill patients and dumped them in nearby cities. And when I say dumped, I mean bus pulls up, get out.
The van.
Yeah.
Reverse kidnapping. They stop, pull the hood off.
Yeah.
Close the door.
So we're talking some people who have been institutionalized since they were children.
Some of them are probably institutionalized for
very
a reason.
Good reasons. So they do this mass exodus. And during this mass exodus, they find a couple of things. One, they find that some people shouldn't have been there. Imagine that. A ton of people with cerebral palsy. So they're all together up here. But their faculties don't work. We're trapped inside this institution their whole lives. From 2 to 18. So they find that they've made a bunch of misdiagnoses, and they cut them loose. Well, those with the misdiagnoses, even though they have been institutionalized their whole lives, get no benefits. None. Bye. Thanks for coming. Have a great life. They don't They don't have connections with their families at this point. They don't even know where they came from, a lot of them. And those that are actually mentally ill are cut loose into these cities, these little tiny mom and pop shop cities where there's no services. So they start to fill up these hotels and motels, and they're taking their state benefits and paying for these hotels and motels, but they're still not getting any help. They've got a roof over their head, but they're not getting any help. And then, because we're talking 7,000 people, they said, we're closing down. Everyone must go. So other institutions that could take more, most of them were so full, then became exactly like Willowbrook. Because now the overcrowding has been moved from one place to the next without any extra staff.
What shut down the Willowbrook?
The pressure from everything
what closed it down to where they lost all their personnel and all their funding?
The state closed it. They said, we're done. This is bad imaging for us.
But I mean the thing that caused the problem, where they went from
budget cuts.
Who cut the budgets?
They were getting federal money, and that they just cut the budget for the institutions, for the different committees that were funneling it down to them. So this is where Cropsy starts. The people of Staten Island, a lot of them knew of Willowbrook. You know, it was kind of, if you look at Willowbrook on Google Earth, it doesn't look the same as it did back then. It's very overgrown. Back then it had like manicured grass and things like that, and you could actually drive up to it. But they knew it was there, but they didn't understand the deplorable conditions. And then they start seeing this gigantic spike in people wandering the streets who are mentally ill. And this sparks the legend of Cropsy. So the legend of Cropsy was told to the youth on Staten Island, and it was similar to most urban legends where they say, don't you go out in the woods at night because old Cropsy will get you. He's an escaped mental patient. Don't you go down by the river tonight because old Cropsy, he waits for kids and he's mentally incapable of being out in society. You know, and don't you wander into the old Willowbrook because that's where Cropsy lives. Cropsy lives in there. When they released him, that's all he knew, so he went on home. So, fast forward, not very damn long, we have a child go missing, Staten Island. And this little girl is Down syndrome. And she just is playing outside and is gone.
Just poof, gone.
Just poof, gone. So they start looking for her. And the whole borough and all surrounding boroughs come together, and they are, with the state police, sweeping through to find this little girl. What they find is vagrants, mentally ill patients living in Willowbrook, the old rundown.
So they went back to the source.
As part of their search, they find them living there. And one of the people living there was actually staying in a tent on the Willowbrook grounds. His name is Andre Rand. Now, Andre Rand is said to have been a part of the residents at Willowbrook and then moved into a janitor's position at Willowbrook before it closed. And Rand left his job when Willowbrook closed, but never left the grounds. So many patients stayed there.
So Andre was he a committed person there that kind of got
at one point?
So he's like a trustee.
Yeah, an orderly they called him.
Okay.
Yeah. So they find him. They question him. The picture that we shared as our thumbnail was when they first picked him up. The entire borough went insane because this urban legend that they had been telling their kids was actually true. That there was a mentally ill person living on the Willowbrook's grounds.
It sounds like there were a few of them.
Many. So they kicked up many people living both in the building and outside of the building that were part of the Exodus program that could not find resources, housing, and such. And so they just went home. They just went home. Yeah. So Andre Rand is picked up and he's questioned. And he denies. But they find, so the police kind of back off from the search. They've said they've searched everywhere and they haven't found anything. They haven't found this little girl's body. They can't charge him, blah, blah, blah. Well, there's a mom group. You just F around and find out.
Dude, do not mess with the moms.
They did not give up. They relentlessly searched until they found the burial of this little girl.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say they found her and there was a swing set.
No, they found the burial of this little girl, and then they didn't stop there. They found another body and another body.
So was he going after
all of the children?
Other of the Exodus people?
No, these missing children, there were dozens.
Like from families?
Yeah, that were not institutionalized. But all of the children that were reported missing, that were tied back to, they call him Cropsy, his name's Andre Rand, have mental health issues. The little girl that sparked it all was Down syndrome.
He went after kind of what he knew.
Yeah.
So because he had a familiarity with them, with the mentally ill, that's who he went after.
Yep. And because of his vagrant lifestyle, and he would move his tent around, and he really didn't own a lot of things, and the timing and all of those things, the evidence that they could collect was only eyewitness testimony. So he went to jail on two counts of kidnapping. And then he was released. And then another girl went missing. And they picked him up again and were able to put enough circumstantial evidence together that they sent him to jail for 25 years.
Why was he kidnapped? Don't tell me he was also a pedophile.
So we don't know. We don't know if it was sexually motivated or not. And that's because of the condition of the bodies when they were found. And the timing. I mean, we're talking the 80s. We've come a long way since then, but the timing wasn't ripe for trace DNA and other things like that that could have possibly got him off the streets sooner. But he was sentenced to 25 years to life, and he is eligible for parole in 2037.
How old will he be in 2037?
So he'll be pretty old. He was born in 44.
Okay.
So he'll be like 93 years old or something.
And he looks like he's still kind of not mentally all there.
Yeah.
He's got Cortez eyes.
Yeah.
He's kind of got that kind of crazy, taking it all in.
So, Cropsy.
We don't know what he was doing, though.
The urban legend brought to life. See, now, a couple of reporters have reached out to him, and he's clearly mentally ill. He won't say where the other bodies. They have located 3, but he's suspected of 1, 2, 7.
So there's 4 more.
Yeah.
Children that went missing.
Children and adults. So there was one 18-year-old. So we've got 12.
But he went after people with disabilities.
7-year-old, 18-year-old, 5-year-old. Yeah.
Oh.
And to this day, that mom group now has a younger mom group following in their footsteps. They spend most weekends scouring.
Hitting the woods. They do these small searches where they go out in a group and they've marked it on a map. And they go out and they tie off the trees and they dig and search through the underbrush and use rakes and shovels. And they're just turning that island upside down. Someone needs to donate these ladies one of them
sonar
ground radar things.
Ground penetrating radar.
Yeah, just how much do they cost?
I don't know.
Let's get a group together, donate it to these moms, let them find closure for the other 4 families.
And that's what the one mom said. She said, and this interview that they did with her was in the 90s, but she said, I will do this until I'm dead because I can't imagine what these people are going through.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you know your child is gone and you have a place where you can go and visit them. It's a whole different scenario to have your child missing. And so the state police are no longer searching, but this group of moms,
do not cross
they're
the moms.
still recruiting.
Do not cross the moms.
They're still recruiting.
Dude, one, you know they have the best buffet cook-offs.
That's right.
Do not cross the moms. They're probably excited to show up for all the reasons. 1, to show off their cooking delights. 2, to find the bodies and give closure. Do not mess with the moms.
King says there has to be a higher body count that we don't know. And that has been theorized since the beginning because we only know of the ones
children's
in that area. But all of the people that were exodus,
we don't know about them.
They're not even keeping track of them.
No, and what a failure of the state. I can say this tell them blue in the face. The state only does one thing, and that's turn gold into crap. That's it.
Yeah.
And this is the state dumping them out.
No resources.
We don't need to go into any more of that. But anyways, let's read through these comments. I got a few more news stories. Well, I got one that's got me giggling. We should have let off with it. This is sad.
It is kind of sad.
Right.
What's strange to me is now Willowbrook is considered one of the most haunted places in New York.
Really?
And
let's say
it's the energy, all of the fear
energy,
and
the
torment
pain, the
and
starvation.
Pain. Because just because they can't say it doesn't mean they don't have something to say.
Now, here's a question. This is going to be controversial, folks. And everyone enjoy Betsy's Frankenstein fingernails for a second. Show them up on the screen so they can.
Frankenstein.
How do I put this? Do you think if you're a spirit, spirits carry on the torment of their life, right?
I don't know. I have a theory.
Or rips in time, whatever. We've talked to many people. Now, I imagine if you're someone with mental faculties that aren't up to normal standards, that's a scary environment.
Absolutely. It's scary in the best of environments.
If all the different theories are that a piece of your spirit peels off or you're a rip in the space-time continuum, whatever, imagine if that spirit carries on that same horrible fear and goes back to where it last remembered.
Well, as humans, even if the situation isn't great, we gravitate towards what is familiar.
Yes.
Because at least we know the evil.
Well, and that's the place we know. That's the roadmap we have.
So I would say I more believe that the soul, the spirit, the essence of the person returns to a higher power. But the energy...
a sliver of that maybe.
I believe that when we go through trauma, we release into our space this energy, this really low vibrational energy that it never dies. Energy never dies. Once it's created, it never dies. And they can measure your thoughts outside of your brain. So...
Well, some people.
Yeah.
They've got to go. They've got to get at least halfway through the knuckle skull.
But this energy, because it never dies, it stays.
It's residual.
And so when you walk into places like these, you're experiencing, I believe, not necessarily their soul, but the trauma, the pain, the fear, all of that low vibrational energy that is housed within those walls.
Like a shadow.
Because energy also will not change form or move unless new energy is introduced.
So it may not be a spirit. It might just be the stain.
Yeah. So some people are really sensitive to other people's energies.
I'm glad I'm not.
And others of us are really tactile. We like touch it, see it, feel it. But I think in places like Willowbrook, where there's so much that even those of us who are tactile, who don't have this like visionary look on things, maybe very one-dimensional, I think that places like that, even those of us who are tactile will feel it. Because there's so much
Can you just go in
energy.
there, like the doors tossed
So
open?
there are urban explorers who post videos inside Willowbrook. And it's graffitied inside, and it's falling down, and all of these things. But there's also all of these haunting experiences. They say if you go there at night, you can hear the crying. You can't determine where it's coming from, but you can hear crying.
Yep.
And I believe that even those of us who are tactile would likely experience that because there's so much of it. 6,000-7,000 people all in the same place experiencing this trauma together.
That's a freak out moment for me. That's because, I just don't seem to have the senses. And if I finally, something snapped in that brought it to me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I get it. Ooh.
Oh, so I've got one last story to finish with.
All right. I hope it's funny.
It is.
This isn't funny. It's spooky, but it's not funny.
This one is, I've actually got two, but all right.
Is that a B? Oh.
So I have to preface this with something. We've talked a few times about documentaries that have been made, like The Terminator.
Oh, yeah. The Matrix.
The Matrix.
We've covered The Matrix.
We've covered those documentaries. And I never really thought that this would become a documentary. But Austin Powers has become a documentary.
$1 billion.
When Dr. Evil freezes himself.
Okay.
And then comes back from the future.
Yes.
Or back from the past. And then asks for $1 million, and all his henchmen start giggling. So then he asks for $1 billion. And then they giggle again because, that's an unheard of number. So Alex Jones has been on trial and everything else. And
his trial is not about future travel and being frozen, though.
His trial is about, he said some things after a school shooting that that, you know, he's in trouble for, whatever. But he is charged $1 billion for it. Now, I want to put this in perspective.
And what state?
Betsy, look up on your phone. I think in Connecticut. Yeah, Connecticut. Look up on your phone, how much was Pfizer charged when they put out that drug that killed like 6,000 people?
Oh.
Because $1 billion being charged to 6 people. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make a point to strip him of speaking. I would argue this is a point they're making not against him, but they're trying to make a point that if you speak out and it is found to be disliked speech, they will come after you. Like what was put out last weekend that has PayPal. Is it PayPal?
Okay.
Or no? What's Patreon?
Okay.
In a little bit of trouble. You know what they did?
Oh.
They put out a statement on accident, air quotes, that if you say something they don't like, they'll charge your account $2,500. And PayPal lost their value on the market, dumped over the weekend. Because
Patreon did?
Yeah, Patreon.
So it was $273 million was the Pfizer suit.
For injuring, 6,000 people?
Yeah.
He is charged. Now, when the judge announced this, did the judge announce it like this? He's actually charged 960 whatever thousand. Like, he's charged just under, the numbers are astronomical. There's a lot of commas, but he's charged almost $1 billion for this. And it is.
And what is he charged with? Defamation?
Well, this is
because he's an opinion journalist.
Yeah, kind of that. He was charged with defamation and things like that. It's just insane. Now, one, he's never going to be able to pay it.
No.
Yeah, he's just not going to. But what they're doing is they're trying to make it so that he won't have his media empire. InfoWars is not going away, though. It'll just be owned by someone else with Alex Jones sitting in a chair and doing the announcing. Another thing, Alex Jones, I'll bet he gets offers to go on shows every day, all day long.
Yeah.
Just because he is that hate him, love him, whatever, he's that controversial figure. So Pfizer kills 6,000 people, and they get charged half, not even half.
So to put it into perspective, if you spent $5,000 a day, it would take you more than 500 years to spend $1 billion.
Yeah. Now, I could see if they would have awarded, apparently it's 6 families, if they would have awarded each family $1 million, right? That I could recognize. But to go, and the lawyer even came out, the prosecutor even came out and said, we want to run him out of business.
Oh, yeah. This isn't about justice.
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with that, but it's insane. $1 billion.
And his net worth is not anywhere near that.
No. Now, granted, it's more than me, but
a little bit more than you.
Yes. Okay. Some comments for a minute, and then we got to finish out with one last news story. Imagine what sick acts. Here's the comments from YouTube. King says, imagine what sick acts occurred in those times.
Yeah.
And a lot of, oh my God, so sad. Yes. Shawnette says, the government is never there to help, period, unless it's to help you lighten your bank account via taxes.
Yeah, because keep in mind, these people that were part of the Exodus that were actually disabled are still getting money every month. Some of them, because they don't have a home address, are not cashing their checks or even receiving their money. But all of that is taxpayer funded.
Yeah.
And none of it is serving them as humans.
None of it is serving the community. None of it is serving the what you call
the patient,
them? Victims? I would call
the
them
victim.
Victims,
Yeah.
All right, Betsy, read this next big one from King real quick.
So, Mickey Rooney himself was mistakenly placed for a couple of months as a child, and later on in his life, he became insane. He took medication and drugs to cope with the pain. Yeah.
I didn't know that about Mickey Rooney.
The way that we have diagnosed has changed over the years, and I don't know if I would argue that it's better or worse, but the way that we have institutionalized has definitely got better. Because, I mean, we started with, if you argued with your husband, institutionalized.
Well,
I know that...
Betsy, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater.
If you didn't make dinner, institutionalized. And
maybe not a lifetime, but a couple weeks.
Just to learn your lesson.
Of restful inflection might keep you from burning the meatloaf.
But what we've done is this evolution of mental health care has been gory at very best.
Every
I mean, drilling holes in heads was completely
everything's
normal.
Gone ugly. I mean, everything's gone from ugly. They've had to cross a crucible. I mean, think of surgeries when they busted out the old great neck wood saw and just went to hacking. I mean,
yeah,
and stacking the bodies up and didn't wash their hands or wear gloves. King says the power of the building kept him there. Could imagine what stuff they did. Sacrifices. Ooh.
So we have to also remember that this story, this legend is on the tails of the Satanic Panic. So that buzz, that hum, that whatever was happening to these children was part of satanic rituals that was ever present.
Oh, yeah.
In Staten Island. They were hyper vigilant.
In the beginning, it seems like it may not have been. I mean, even though like you've got cerebral palsy, but you get put in there probably in the beginning under better care than your family could provide in many situations. But as they start drawing back, turns into a nightmare.
Yeah.
Turns into a nightmare.
So a good patient to resident ratio.
1-to-1.
1-to-1 for the mentally
ill. Oh, of course.
Ill.
1-to-1.
The maximum that we have right now.
One, you want them to have someone on command. You want them to build the trust in each other, to learn to read each other. I think you could probably go with a 10-to-1 or a 15-to-1 and have a safe situation.
Ooh, I don't know.
So while Betsy looks this up, King says, I think we die and go to heaven or hell. And this is a punishment people in hell are going through as a punishment. Many scientists say that Terminator can be reality with time travel. I'm telling you, it's just a documentary, folks. It's a documentary.
So 3-to-1 right now is considered 3 patients for 1 staff. Is considered safe.
The experts have spoken. Remember, do not listen to the moron. Do not let me.
Yeah, 3-to-1. 3-to-1 is considered safe for mental patient care.
Ooh. King also says the real murderers got away and they put up a scapegoat.
Now that has been theorized.
That's freaky thoughts.
Because, and I'm glad you brought that up, King, because Andre Rand could be totally innocent.
Oh, just.
They found absolutely zero evidence that tied him to any of these children.
Ooh, that's freaky.
None.
That is freaky.
What often happens is there's a hum, a buzz, a fear, this gang mentality that's developing, and the police are put under this pressure to find it, make it stop, and so they find someone that fits the bill.
Could be. And in that picture we showed, he was just drooling.
Yep.
Okay. Now for some Facebook comments.
Yeah, we read through these.
We didn't read Kendra's yet, did we?
Yeah.
What did he consider disrespect, though? We don't have the whole story. Could it be he was arguing with the mom because the son is upset by the way the boyfriend treats the mom? My kids have gotten in arguments like that. It was not them disrespecting me. It was them being worried the boyfriend needs prison time. The mom needs to leave his butt and get her and the kids counseling. I agree. Regardless of what the kid was arguing with the mom about, you don't roll around in the dirt with your stepchild or
15-year-old anything. Or how about let's just not even as adults bite each other's ears?
Yeah. You don't roll around in the dirt. You don't let it get to that point. You're supposed to be the adult, have some self-control, and whatever.
We lead by example, people.
Yeah, Jackson says it's sad that was the conditions. Yes, some spirits can be in their death state, which means they don't know they died.
So that's another thing, because I think some deaths are so traumatic and some lives are so traumatic that passage from here to wherever we go next may not seem clear.
Yeah. I can see that.
That you may not understand, or there may be some fear around it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but you know that there was a lot of trauma in there. Those with cerebral palsy have gone on record, and you can actually watch some of their interviews on YouTube, where because all of their faculties, let's remember, very intelligent, they can articulate the conditions that they were living under. A lot of patients, this kind of behavior, they get away with it because they can't articulate. It's not that they don't have a lot to say, they just can't say it.
Yeah. Well, imagine the ones with cerebral palsy that are in there starving.
Yeah.
And trapped in their minds.
Yeah.
Can't
Their bodies will not take care of them, but their brains are keeping record of everything that happened.
Keeping the score. All right. Angry tourist smashes 2 ancient statues in the Vatican because he couldn't meet the Pope.
Straight to hell. I don't even need to read what is it called? The catechism. I don't need to read that to know. Straight to hell.
Okay. There's a worldwide stereotype of the obnoxious and entitled American tourist. And while the stereotype isn't true in 9 out of 10 cases, in 1 out of 3 cases, some people seem hell-bent on making sure it doesn't go anywhere. Take, for example, the recent case from Italy. A 50-year-old American man.
How old?
50, another adult. Man smashed 2 ancient Roman busts in a fit of anger.
He hulked out. They show a Hulk picture.
It's no wonder he grew irritated, though. After all, the completely out-of-line museum staff refused his demands to go meet the Pope face-to-face.
I don't think so. That's on the brochure.
Yeah.
You know, you visit, you get to meet the Pope, have a coffee. I don't think that's on the brochure.
It's insane. There's the incident happened on October 5th at the Museo Chiaramonti, blah, 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 founded by Pope Pius VII in the early 19th century. The museum displays about 1,000 ancient statues. In its own words, it also has one of the finest collections of Roman portraits.
So now they say he's 65.
Yes.
He's aging. Are we talking Alzheimer's?
He told the
little
staff
dementia?
he wanted to go meet Pope Francis because naturally an Italian person in the Vatican has direct access to the Pope. This story kind of goes off the rails. I would like to know who wrote this story because it went from 50 to 65, went from American
to American man of Egyptian origin.
To Egyptian. But anyway, so yeah, want to meet the Pope, so you go busting it up.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I want to know, Mr. Egyptian man of questionable age.
Now, he only knocked down one. The other one he knocked down as he tried to make a break for it.
Did this little showing, this little display, get you a face-to-face with the Pope?
Nope, but he got to meet those Swiss guards that wear the funny costumes.
Okay. Next best thing.
The gendarmes.
The booby prize.
Yes. Not as bad.
See, I don't believe we should ever do things that don't get us to our goal. If your goal is to meet the Pope face to face,
become a bishop.
Yeah, I was going to go a little more dark with that, but
you was going to go a little dark.
But we'll leave it at become a bishop.
Become a bishop, you know. Whatever you do, don't change yourself into a young boy. Anyways. But yes. This is a sad story today.
It's terrible.
King
but
says it has
maybe
to have something to do with apocalyptic.
And maybe, just listen. Just hear me out.
Okay.
We should listen to all the urban legends. Okay, tell me the urban legend that had the most effect on you. And for those of you listening, what urban legend did you grow up with?
Ooh, yeah. Send us an email of that.
Yeah, or just post a comment.
Yeah, the email is, you can do jared@thewildpod.com. Man, I'd have to think about that for a spell. What one had the most effect on me? Jackson says, just because he could not see the Pope, he needs a reality check. The Pope is an important person. Hardly any citizen gets to meet him. Very true. Very true.
I'll tell you a personal,
traumatic
urban legend.
All right. Well, I've never really been too urban, so, I mean, mine would be suburban legend.
This one affected me a great deal for a period of my life.
Okay.
I don't even know if I can say it. There's an old urban legend that if you twist your belly button, your bum will fall off.
That is our grandfather. Would that be an urban legend or an old wives' tale?
Listen, I don't know.
Our grandpa used to tell us that when we were young.
If you twist your belly button, your bum will fall off.
Oh, the good old days. He was a funny dude.
So my favorite is the Crossroads Blues Player One.
Yes, that's all. We covered that on.
We did
on the 27 Club. Yes.
Ooh, this is a yucky one. It's called Doggy Lick. Yeah, I'm not sleeping tonight.
Already with the name.
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
The story describes a killer who secretly spends the night under a girl's bed licking her hand when she reaches down to pet her dog.
Oh, that's so gross. Who's it grossest for? None of that sounds... Remember that guy? That guy that'd break into houses to... What was he, kissing people's butts? In Texas? The butt kisser?
Yes, he'd climb in the window.
What is he doing? And he targeted men. Mm-hmm. He liked to go in, and while they're sleeping, just give them a little...
So Skinwalkers is an urban legend.
Oh, Skinwalkers is. Huh?
That's pretty near and dear to our hearts.
Whoever decided that was an urban legend has never been to northeastern Utah. There is nothing urban about any of that.
That's
place.
true. That's true. They need to redeclare that as a rural legend.
Yeah, not even suburban.
Not even
So,
suburban.
a developing legend. King asks, and we're going to close it on this. Betsy, what would you do if the dog licker happened to you?
Listen, King, I'm not sleeping tonight.
What would
now
you
that
do?
I've read that.
And now Betsy does have 3 dogs.
I don't let him sleep in my
And
room.
granted-
If anything licked me in the middle of the night, I would literally pass away.
That's it. And that energy would be released.
This
and
is how
the
it
house
ends.
is haunted. Anyways, everyone, thanks for joining us. Creepy yet fun show. Don't get licked while you sleep. Hopefully. Now, we do have 2 people commenting who are in Texas. That's where the bum kisser is. Good night, all.